2, 3, 1, go.
Hi, student. Today we go over axial bone today, which is we videotape right now, and I'm going over from the axial list for you. And first we're gonna talk about the suture of the skull. Yeah, the suture is right now a stenosis. There's no opening. You don't see it, but you see the suture very well in this skull. Let's talk about the first suture is coronal suture, which is I'm pointing here. That's the corona. Corona means crown, that you put crown. And here is called corona. Okay? And then we have sagittal, which is in the middle, that between two parietal. Okay? Between two parietal is sagittal. Sagittal that divided the skull in two. The next one is squamose. Squamose means flat. And you see it, that is squamose located between temporal bone and parietal. Okay? Means flat, and you can see it. Flat. The other one is lumboidal, which is between occipital bone and two parietal bone. Okay? That's lumboidal, which is I'm pointing here. The next one is the parieto-mastoid. What does that mean? Means the suture between mastoid bone, which belongs to temporal bone, and parietal, means between parietal bone and mastoid. That's combining fun. You combine two bones, parieto-squamous suture. Okay? Now, the frontal, the next one is front. Where is your frontal bone? In the front, yeah, which is front. Frontal is sphenoid. How we find the sphenoid? The sphenoid, one of the part of the sphenoid bone. This is a sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone actually inside. You can see it from inside. Okay, this is the outside of a sphenoid bone, from outside. Okay, that's called fronto-sphenoid, means between frontal bone and a sphenoid bone, which is I'm pointing here. Small suture. Okay, the next one is temporal sphenoid, which is I show you temporal, that's the temporal bone, and this is a sphenoid, which is this suture is located between the sphenoid and temporal bone, which is this suture. Okay, the next one is going to be parieto-sphenoid. Means again, what is parieto? Parietal bone. That's the parietal bone, and this is a sphenoid bone, and the suture located here. Small suture, you can see it. I'm pointing. Okay? The next one is temporozygomatic. Zygomatic bone is a cheekbone. This is your cheekbone. This is zygomatic. And that's a temporal bone. But where is the suture? The suture is here. Temporozygomatic suture. Okay? The next one is frontonasal. Now that's easy. Nasal is your nasal bone, and frontal your front bone. The suture is going to be between nasal bone and between frontal bone, which is I'm pointing here. Frontonasalis or frontonasal bone. Okay, guys. Now, let's first, before we go over all the other point bone mark, let's talk about the skull, which consists of few bones. Frontal bone, that's parietal bone, that's temporal bone, this is occipital bone, a sphenoid bone is inside, which is I'm pointing, nasal bone, cheekbone, zygomatic, maxillary bone, okay? And the other one is mandibular, which is this one I'm pointing. Okay? Okay, let's talk about the bone mark of frontal bone. Frontal bone, which is in the front. Okay? For frontal bone, first you know the sphenoorbital margin. It's got a supraorbital margin. Supraorbital margin. Okay? Supraorbital margin. And the other mark is supraorbital margin, this one, and the supraciliary ridge, which is your eyebrow growth, supraciliary ridge. And the supraorbital, under the supraciliary ridge is the foramen, which is I'm pointing with that. This is the supraorbital ridge or supraorbital foramen. You get it? It's two of them here. Okay. And the foramen, frontal sinus, the sinus is inside the bone. You can't see it, okay? You cannot, but there is sinus there, okay? Sometimes it's clogged with the mucus, you get sinusitis. Glabella, what is glabella? Here, which is I'm pointing, glabella. You always point when you're thinking. Yeah, that's glabella. Okay. Orbital plates. What does plate means? This is the orbital plates, which is I'm pointing. Okay, the hole that your eyes reside here. Okay, inside that orbital cavity. But orbital cavity is made of few bones, which is one of them is frontal. The top portion is of the orbital bone covered with the frontal bone. And side is a sphenoid, and the other side is lacrimal bone, and down is maxilla. Okay? This is your orbital cavity, but orbital plates is this one I'm pointing. Okay? Okay, we done with frontal bone. Let's talk about parietal bone. This is your parietal bone, which is I'm pointing. Yeah? And you remember the sagittal was dividing the parietal to two parietal, right and left? Okay? That's the parietal bone. And parietal bone, what you see? Superior temporal line. The temporal line, in some skull is visible, some skull is not visible. They are calling temporal line, which is inferior and superior temporal line. Okay? That's it. For parietal bone, only this. Just remember, this is parietal bone. And between parietal is sagittal and parietal line, superior and inferior. Okay? The next one is occipital bone. Occipital means in the back of which is very important because the vision area is located in occipital bone. Okay? And a very important bones. In occipital bone, the lumboid, remember I told you the suture lumboid between two parietal and occipital? That's your occipital bone. Okay, let me hold. Now we go over the occipital from the inside and outside, internal and external bone mark. Let's see the external bone mark. What you see? The big hole. That big hole called foramen magnum, which is the biggest foramen in the body. All the 12 nerves is coming down to spinal cord, enter the spinal column, okay, which is very important. And medulla oblongata is finished in the foramen magnum. Occipital condyle like foot pedal, you see 2-foot pedal. That's occipital condyle, okay, which is I'm pointing here. And then you see hypoglossal canal. Hypoglossal canal, which is I'm pointing. Hypoglossal canal in the back of condyle. And the other one is condyle canal, which is inside the condyle, which is this one, See? condyle. This is condyle, and that's the canal. You get it? It's two of them, both sides. Okay. And then you have nucha, nuchal line. And this all is going to be nuchal line. Yeah, nuchal line. External occipital protuberance. This is your external occipital protuberance. There are two of them, external protuberance and internal protuberance. Let me open the skull now because we go over on the sphenoid bone. Okay. Now the occipital bone, which is I'm holding, yeah, this is